Someone just got arrested for carrying a gun that belonged to their dead grandfather. They had no idea they were doing anything wrong, and that right there could happen to you. Here's the scary truth. Every single day, good people inherit firearms from parents, grandparents, and family members. And every single day, those same good people make one tiny mistake that turns a perfectly legal gun into a criminal charge. But today, I am going to give you 4 specific words that can protect you the moment a police officer starts asking questions about that inherited firearm. Quick question before we continue. Are you subscribed to this channel yet? Because what I'm about to share could be the difference between walking away free and facing a felony charge. Thousands of gun owners have already protected themselves with this knowledge. Hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss an update like this one. It takes 2 seconds and it could save you years of your life. All right, let us get into it. First, I need you to understand something. Inheriting a gun is not the same as buying a gun. Most people assume the rules are exactly the same. They are not. And that misunderstanding is exactly what gets people into serious trouble. When you walk into a gun store and buy a firearm, you fill out a federal form. It is called ATF Form 4473. You go through a background check through the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, which people call NICS. The dealer keeps records. Everything is documented from day one. But when someone dies and leaves you a firearm, none of that happens automatically. There is no store. There is no form at the time of transfer. There is no background check required at the federal level for an inherited firearm. That sounds like good news, right? And in a lot of ways, it is. But here is where people mess up. Because there is no formal transaction, there's also no paper trail. And when a police officer sees a gun in your possession and asks where you got it, the wrong answer can make you look guilty of something you never did. Here's a real scenario to help you understand this. Imagine you are driving home one evening. You just came from your aunt's house. She passed away last week and you picked up your grandfather's old revolver that she left to you in her will. The gun is in a bag in your back seat. You get pulled over for a broken taillight. The officer sees the bag. He asks about it. What do you say? If you say nothing, that looks suspicious. If you fumble around and say something vague like, "It is just a gun I have," that raises more questions. If you say the wrong thing, you might accidentally imply something that sounds like you bought it privately without documentation. That could open a whole can of worms you do not want to deal with on the side of a road at night. But if you know the 4 words I'm about to give you, this situation stays calm, stays legal, and stays in your favor. Now, before I give you those 4 words, let me explain what the law actually says. Because you need to understand the why behind the words. Under the Federal Gun Control Act, which is the main federal law governing firearms in the United States, inherited firearms are treated differently than purchased firearms. Specifically, the law recognizes that when someone passes away and leaves a gun to a family member or named beneficiary, that transfer does not require the same background check process as a standard sale. The executor of an estate, or the person legally handling the deceased person's affairs, can transfer the firearm directly to the heir. That is the federal rule. And that is incredibly important. But here is the part nobody talks about enough. State laws are completely different. What is perfectly fine under federal law might require extra steps in your specific state. For example, some states require that even inherited firearms go through a licensed dealer for a background check before you take possession. California does this, New York does this, Hawaii does this. Other states have their own rules about registration or waiting periods. This is not meant to overwhelm you. I just need you to understand that federal law gives you a baseline protection, but your state law may add requirements on top of that. The 4 words I'm giving you today work at the federal level and in the vast majority of states. But I always recommend you check your specific state laws or talk to a local attorney who handles firearms cases. Now, quick legal note right here. This video is educational information only. It is not legal advice. Every situation is different. Every state is different. If you have specific questions about your inherited firearm, please consult a licensed attorney in your area. That one step could save you enormous trouble. Okay, back to the good stuff. If you're finding this helpful so far, imagine what you will learn in my next video. I'm covering exactly what to say when police ask if you are armed during a traffic stop. It is a companion piece to this video, and it is genuinely life-changing information. Subscribe right now so you do not miss it when it drops. I post new legal content every week. Now, the 4 words. Are you ready? Here they are. I inherited this firearm. That is it. 4 words. I inherited this firearm. Those 4 words do more legal heavy lifting than almost anything else you can say in that moment. Let me break down exactly why each word matters so much. The word I matters because it establishes ownership. You're not saying it belongs to someone else. You're not being evasive. You're taking clear ownership of the situation right from the start. That signals cooperation to the officer. The word inherited is the most powerful word in those four. That single word tells the officer everything. It tells him you received this gun from someone who passed away. It tells him this was not a street purchase. It tells him there is a legal reason you have this firearm without a sales receipt. It immediately frames the entire conversation in a legal context. The word "this" is specific. You're talking about the gun in front of you right now. You are being precise. Vagueness makes officers nervous. Specificity shows you have nothing to hide. And the word firearm is professional. Not a piece, not a weapon, not a thing, a firearm. Using proper terminology shows you are a responsible, informed gun owner. That matters more than most people realize. How you speak in those first 30 seconds shapes how that officer sees you for the rest of the interaction. Now here's what I want you to do after you say those four words. Stay calm and stay brief. You do not need to launch into a 20-minute story about your grandmother's house and the lockbox in the attic. Just say, "I inherited this firearm," and then wait. Let the officer ask follow-up questions if he has them. Answer those questions simply and honestly. Here is what most people get wrong in this moment. They over-explain. They start talking fast. They add details nobody asked for. They mention things that raise new questions. Remember, the goal is not to tell your whole life story. The goal is to give the officer exactly enough information to understand that this is a legal firearm with a legal history. 4 words does that job perfectly. Now, I want to walk you through a second scenario, because the traffic stop is not the only time you might need these words. Imagine someone calls the police during a wellness check at your home. Officers knock on your door. They can see a firearm on your kitchen table. This happens all the time. An officer asks, "Whose gun is that?" You do not panic. You do not reach for it. You look the officer calmly in the eye and you say, "I inherited this firearm." Then you can add, "My father passed away recently and I am in the process of handling his estate." Now the officer has a complete, believable, and legal explanation. The situation stays calm. Or imagine you are at a range and someone calls the police over something unrelated. Officers show up and start asking questions. Same thing. You say those 4 words. You keep it calm and factual. The point is this. Those 4 words work in almost any situation where police are asking about a gun you inherited. They are accurate, they are protective, and they immediately signal to any officer that you are a law-abiding person. But wait, there's something even more important we need to talk about. There are 2 situations where those 4 words alone are not enough, and you need to know about both of them. The first situation involves NFA items. NFA stands for the National Firearms Act. This covers certain special types of guns and accessories, things like suppressors, which some people call silencers, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, machine guns made before 1986. If you inherit one of these items, the rules are much stricter. You cannot simply say, "I inherited this firearm," and walk away. NFA items require a specific ATF form called a Form 5. That is the tax-exempt transfer form for inherited NFA items. Until that paperwork is processed and approved, that item cannot legally be in your possession. This is the part that shocked me when I first learned it. A lot of people find a suppressor or a short-barreled rifle in a deceased family member's safe and just take it home. They have absolutely no idea they are now in possession of an unregistered NFA item. That is a federal felony, not a misdemeanor. A felony with serious prison time. So if you open a family member's gun safe and find something that looks unusual, do not touch it until you know exactly what it is and what the rules are. Call an attorney who handles NFA transfers. That phone call could save you from a federal charge. The second situation, where the 4 words need a backup plan, is if you are a prohibited person. Federal law says certain people cannot possess firearms. This includes people with felony convictions, people with certain domestic violence records, people who have been involuntarily committed to a mental institution, and several other categories. If you fall into one of these categories, you cannot inherit a gun. The law does not make exceptions for sentiment or family history. Being prohibited means being prohibited, period. If you believe you might be in a prohibited category, do not touch the inherited firearm. Consult an attorney immediately to figure out your legal options. Hey, here's a quick stat for you. About 73% of people watching this video right now are not subscribed. That means nearly 3 out of 4 of you are taking a real risk of missing the next video in this series. I'm building a complete library of firearms law content that could honestly keep you out of legal trouble for the rest of your life. Do not be in that 73%. Join the gun owners who get these updates first. Hit subscribe right now. It is free and it takes 2 seconds. Let me give you a third important thing to think about after you inherit a gun. What do you do with the documentation? Here's my strong recommendation. Keep a copy of the will or any legal document that names you as the beneficiary of that firearm. Keep it with the gun. Keep it in the case. Keep it wherever you store the firearm. You do not legally need this document in most situations, but having it is like having a superpower. If anyone ever questions where that gun came from, You pull out that document, and the conversation is over in 30 seconds. Think of it like a receipt you never throw away. A copy of the probate paperwork, a copy of the will, even a signed letter from the estate's executor explaining the transfer. Any of these documents add a layer of protection on top of your 4 words. Most police officers are not going to demand documentation on the spot, but having it available shows good faith and ends questions fast. Now, let me also talk about what happens when the gun has no paperwork at all. This is more common than you might think. A lot of older guns, especially guns owned by people who passed away, have 0 paper trail, no receipt, no registration, no record anywhere. In many states, this is completely fine. In some states, it creates complications. Here's what you do in that situation. You go to a licensed gun dealer and have them run the serial number. This is not the same as registering the gun. You are simply checking whether that firearm has ever been reported stolen or linked to a crime. If it comes back clean, you are in good shape. Document that you had the check done, write down the date, the dealer's name, and what you found. That little paper trail becomes your protection. If the serial number has been removed or is unreadable, that is a completely different and very serious situation. A firearm with no serial number or an obliterated serial number is a federal issue under 18 U.S.C. 922. Do not carry that gun anywhere. Do not try to fix anything yourself. Contact an attorney immediately. This information could change dramatically after new rulings or legislation, and I want to make sure you are always ahead of it. Subscribe to this channel right now because the next video is going to cover transporting inherited guns across state lines. If you think today's video was eye-opening, that one will genuinely surprise you. Do not miss it. Laws can change fast, and you want to be the person who knows first, not the person who finds out after a problem happens. Okay, let us bring this all together. You inherited a gun. Someone in your family trusted you enough to leave it behind for you. That is meaningful. But that meaning comes with responsibility. The most important thing you learned today is this. When a police officer asks about an inherited firearm, you say 4 words. I inherited this firearm. Those 4 words are honest, they are specific, they are legally protective, and they frame every single thing that follows in a way that works in your favor. After those 4 words, you stay calm, you stay brief. You answer follow-up questions honestly and simply. You do not over-explain. You do not reach for anything without permission, and you already have your documentation ready to show if needed. Remember these 2 extra layers. First, NFA items have completely different rules. If you find a suppressor or machine gun, stop and get legal advice before you do anything. Second, if you are a prohibited person, you cannot inherit a firearm regardless of family ties. Those are the rules. And one more time, this video is educational information only. It is not legal advice. For your specific situation, always talk to a licensed attorney in your state. I spend hours every week digging through federal statutes, state laws, and ATF rulings, so you do not have to. All I ask is that you hit subscribe to support this channel. Every subscriber tells me to keep making this content. And honestly, you deserve to have this kind of information in your corner. Hit that subscribe button. Share this video with anyone who might one day inherit a firearm, because the 4 words you learned today could genuinely keep someone out of prison. I will see you in the next one.